Update. My family is blaming me for a fight after my half-brother destroyed pictures of my mom. Original story. So a bit of backstory. I, 16 male, recently moved in with my dad, 47 male after my mom died. Dad's never really been in my life, and he and my mom were never married. He has a wife, Susan, 48 female, and two other kids, Amy, 14 female, and Matt, 18 male. So when I ended up moving in with my dad, it obviously caused a lot of issues with the rest of the family. Nobody wanted me there, and basically gave me the cold shoulder. Susan, Matt, and Amy tend to talk with each other in French because they know that I can't understand them, and my dad has tried to force an English-only rule in the house with little luck. For the first month, Matt just ignored me completely, even though he and I were forced to share a room since the house didn't have any space. I tried to be nice, but I just lost my mom and it hurts, and it's been so much change so quickly. 2 days ago, though, I found postcards and pictures and letters from my mom ripped into a bunch of pieces and scattered all across my bed. I kept them in a box under my bed, and Matt had been the only one in the house with me at the time, so I know he did it. I started yelling at him, and we ended up verbally fighting right as Susan and Amy got back home. I can't remember what Matt said anymore because I was so mad that I wasn't thinking straight, but I remember hitting him. We both exchanged a couple of punches and I accidentally elbowed Amy in the nose while she and Susan were trying to separate us, so she was bleeding too. When my dad got home, we were all still yelling and Susan was trying to throw me out of the house. I couldn't stop crying because I just had my only actual photos of my mom ruined, and I don't know if we can fix them. My dad tried to settle everyone down, but didn't end up punishing Matt because there's no actual proof that he did it. I got in trouble for throwing the first punch, and Susan is still trying to convince my dad to send me somewhere else. Both Amy and Matt kept telling me that I ruined their family by coming here, but I didn't really have a choice. I know I shouldn't have hit Matt, but I was so mad and didn't think. I know I shouldn't have escalated anything, but am I really the one at fault here? I don't know how I'm supposed to live with Matt anymore. Now for the top advice before reading the update. These parents need to hold somebody accountable because obviously your pictures didn't just rip themselves up. You're right that you shouldn't have hit your half-brother, but assuming that your mom passed away rather recently, you're in grief. So it's not unreasonable that you'd be upset by this. I'm sorry this happened to you. That's a truly awful thing to discover. It's been about 2.5 months and it was really sudden. My mom and I were really close, and I think I've seen my dad twice before I had to go live with him, and not for almost a decade. I know I still have recent pictures on my phone, but it's not the same. Yeah, I can only imagine how hard everything is right now. Your whole life has been basically flipped upside down. Is there anyone on your mom's side you could talk to? Maybe even live with for a few years until you're old enough to get your own place? I think that would be worth exploring, to get yourself out of this environment that doesn't seem to be getting off on the right foot. It's just my grandparents on my mom's side, and they basically disown her because my dad was married to his wife when my mom got pregnant. They're very religious and I haven't had any contact with them since I was born. They didn't even come to her funeral. You should probably talk to your dad about how you feel. This is not a good home environment at all. I've tried, and I think he's just trying to be the good guy on both sides. He knows everyone else doesn't want me there, but it's been hard on them too, so he's trying to be mindful of that, I guess. But I feel like it's at my expense. And now for the first update. So I've posted about this in here before, but things have gotten worse, and I feel like I don't know how to navigate it. It's been about 6 months since I had to move in with my dad and his family after my mom died, and I still feel like his wife and my half-siblings despise me just for being there. The issue of my mom's pictures getting destroyed turned what was already an awful situation into something that is just hurting me. I ended up sleeping on the couch for almost 2 months because I couldn't stand the sight of my half-brother Matt after what he did to my stuff, and started carrying a backpack around the house with anything personal that I had brought from my mom's apartment wherever I went so nothing else could be damaged. Matt ended up apologizing to me, but it seemed more of a show for my dad than an actual apology to me. My dad's wife Susan and my half-sister Amy still barely acknowledge me, and still almost exclusively use French in the house, which I'm only now starting to pick up words and conversation for. I've always felt like a stranger at this house, and while I understand why they don't want me around, I don't know what I can do to try and make things work. The worst of it came 3 weeks ago when I lost my keys to the house and got stuck out in the rain after I came home. I tried calling my dad, but he didn't pick up, and I rang the doorbell as many times as I could because I saw Susan's car outside the house, so I knew she was home. There wasn't much close by us, so I couldn't walk anywhere to wait. By the time my dad got home an hour and a half later, I was soaked and cold, And when we got inside, Susan just said that she was on a call and couldn't hear the doorbell ringing. I couldn't even talk to her and just went upstairs and cried in the bathroom before going to bed. My dad apologized later for not seeing my message sooner, but that's not really the issue here. I feel sick living here and can barely eat or sleep half the time. My grades are tanking and I don't feel like I can talk to anyone. I miss my mom, and everyone is pretending like she never existed, and I have to basically do the same thing so nobody at home gets mad at me. The main issue is, a week ago my dad's best friend and his husband, who I've met a couple times and stayed with the first couple nights, after I reconnected with my dad while he was trying to figure out how to bring me home, heard about me being locked out of the house and asked if I wanted to come stay with them for a while. I want to say yes so bad, because anywhere has to be better than where I'm staying now. But I know it's going to cause issues with my dad because he ruined his entire relationship with his family to be able to bring me home so I wouldn't have to go into foster care, and it's going to seem incredibly ungrateful. I know my dad's trying. He really is. But I don't know what am I going to do if I have to keep living in this house until I turn 18. How do I broach the subject with him? Is trying to move out even worth it at this point, or should I just toughen up and deal with it for the next year and a half? You're living in a hostile environment. With time that will really affect your health negatively. You've been offered a safe space to live. Don't walk, but run in that direction. Your dad is the adult. Let him deal all of the negative consequences. Put yourself first. I'm really sorry about the loss of your mother. Honestly, I feel like it probably already is. I'm so tired all of the time but can't sleep and somehow still can't get out of bed in the morning. I feel like I haven't even got any chance to breathe or process the fact that my mom's gone because there's been so much change so quick, which is also kind of why I don't want to have to move houses again. I am so sorry. Your father's wife and your half-siblings have a lot of misplaced anger. Do they treat your father the same way they've been treating you? Although in relation to the advice you're seeking, that's neither here nor there. I would definitely take your dad's friends up on the offer, even if it's just for a short while. You need to get out of that toxic situation. You also need to have a frank talk with your dad. Is he backing you up in these situations, or does he stand by and let them treat you like that? You're going through a rough time, and it must be terrible to feel like no one is there to support you. There was definitely a lot of tension between my dad, Amy, and Susan, but that seems to have mostly gone away after the first couple months. Matt seems still pissed at him, but it kind of feels like they just turned all that anger on me. I've tried talking to my dad about it, at least a little, but there aren't a lot of times where it's just the two of us, and I don't feel comfortable saying anything in front of everyone else. Nobody really does anything to me in front of my dad, except the language thing, which he does try and stop every time he catches it. But Matt and Susan usually just do things behind his back to hurt me. But I think my dad doesn't want to believe that his wife and kids are capable of treating me like that. What an awful situation. I'm so sorry for the loss of your mother. As a mother myself, I want nothing more than to take you in and give you the longest hug ever. If I were your mom, I'd tell you to go where you're safest. Your dad's household is not safe, and is actively damaging your mental and physical health. I get that your father is doing his best, and it's kind of an impossible position he's in trying to placate everyone, but here's the thing. As your parents, his priority should be your health and safety, even if it means you living under a different roof. Now, I don't know this other couple, but the fact that they were willing to house a strange teenager with a troubled family history puts them in a very positive light in my eyes. They didn't have to do that. Most people wouldn't, but they did. You have the option of going back, where you'd be safe. Please prioritize yourself. That being said, I don't know the best way of going about it. One commenter mentioned going for a weekend, then a bit more frequently to ease the transition. I like this idea, but I worry about your stepmother retaliating somehow. It sounds like anything she can do to make you suffer, she will. Maybe she'll impose your dad to forbid you from going over there because she'd rather you be miserable. On the other hand, she may be overjoyed to finally be rid of you. I suggest you make a plan. One option is to try to ease the transition route, but be prepared to 100% move out the first sign of things going awry. Another option is to straight up move out. Talk to your dad first. If he can't make time for one-on-one time with his kid, then screw it. Leave. You'll have your answer. That's nice he kept you out of the foster system, but don't mistake him doing the bare minimum as something you need to repay. You don't owe him a damn thing. Take care of you first. Sending you lots of mom love. Reach out anytime. I mean it. Honestly, when I read this comment, I had to go sit outside and cry for a little bit, because just the thought of getting a hug from my mom was enough to set me off. I really needed that. Thank you. My dad's best friend and his husband are really nice, from the times we've interacted, and are honestly the only ones who put all the blame on my dad for actually having the affair, and then keeping me a secret until it had to come out. They know none of this is my fault, and I think they're just trying to figure out a way to help me, and I don't really feel like I deserve it considering how little they know me. I'll try and figure out how to get my dad alone this weekend because I don't know how much more of this I can take. And now for the final update. It's been about a week since I talked to my dad, and I've had a couple people message me about an update, so I figured I'd give one. For those who didn't see my original post, I had to move in with my dad and his family after my mom died and things have been extremely strained. The worst incidences being my half-brother ripping pictures of my mom up and my dad's wife leaving me locked out of the house. So I was given the offer to move out by my dad's friend and his husband, both in their 30s. I followed a couple people's suggestion and texted my dad's friend that I wanted to leave, and they ended up suggesting we all go out to lunch. I think they could both tell how nervous I was around my dad, and my dad's friend John ended up being the one to bring up the idea of me moving out. My dad seemed completely blindsided by it and asked why I wanted to move out. John and his husband Ben reminded him about everything that's been going on at home, and I just kind of sat there. My dad seemed really upset, and it made me feel terrible because I already felt guilty about leaving. But then he just asked if I really wanted to go. I said yes, and he just immediately agreed. It kind of hit me that I wanted him to try and fight for me, to say sorry for everything that's been letting happen, and for my dad to try and keep me at home. But he just let me go like it was nothing. It's been hard after my mom died, and my dad's the only family I've got left, so it really didn't make me feel any better about leaving, even though I don't have to deal with my dad's family anymore. Ben took me back to their apartment while John went with my dad to get my stuff from the house, and they had set up their extra room for me already. He apologized that they didn't have been able to do this sooner, and that they hoped I would like living with them. John came back with all of my things, and they kind of gave me time to decompress. I ended up sleeping for almost 16 hours because I was so exhausted. Over the last week, they've been really nice about making me feel at home, and have talked to me about getting me to therapy to deal with losing my mom and everything that happened at my dad's house. They're also trying to figure out how to move me into a different school so I don't have to deal with my half-sister and everyone that knew my half-brother. It's the first time in months that I feel like I can actually breathe, and I don't feel like I'm constantly on guard. My dad hasn't texted me much nor reached out in the last week, so I don't know what's going to happen with him, but for now, I'm safe, I guess. So that's what happened so far. Thanks for everyone that gave me advice and wished me well. It's been really hard lately, and it's made me feel less alone. Wow, man. Before reading this update, I went back and read the other posts, and all I can say is, I'm really glad your dad's friends offered you a place to stay. While I understand that your father's wife was blindsided by the son of her husband and his affair partner, your mom obviously, suddenly living with her, there's absolutely no excuse for her and her kids treating you like trash. Good luck getting school stuff figured out. I'm so happy that you're happy, Opie. But I think you have a mistake in your post. You wrote, "It's been hard after my mom died and my dad's the only family I've got left." Some random people just gave you a home. Someone who basically didn't really know you before offered a spare room to you and that they'll take care for you. They're organizing school stuff. They're there for you. They're dealing with your problems. They know when they should speak for you and give you the time you need. You have at least 2 more family members, Opie. You just got adopted. Maybe not legally, but people just adopted you in their lives. You're not alone. They're going to do wonders for Opie's mental health. A solid, caring support system is what Opie has now. A loving family is what Opie has now, like you said. I sincerely wish you well going forward. Hopefully the men caring for you now will show you the support you need and deserve. They're already demonstrating more character and presence than your father did. His failures are his to own, and don't reflect on you. As for your half-siblings and your father's wife, their abhorrent behavior is another example of your father's failures. Rather stepping up to stop their mistreatment and be an adult, he chose to hide like a coward. He's a poor example of a parent, and in the future you likely look back at this moment as a blessing because it got you away from him. Same here. This is rude, but it sounds like you're already in a much better place, Opie. The only thing I would add that I didn't see mentioned is it would be good to talk about legal guardianship/adoption to give John and Ben more ability to help you with things like college and any medical things. It would be better to have the people you're living with know what's happening to have that ability. The other option is emancipation.